Here are two different styles of Electrolarm. I believe this is the earlier version and this is the later version. One of the things that's very common with these is that there'll be a chunk of bakelite missing. Okay, and typically that's going to happen right back here. Very common to see a big chunk of bakelite missing out of these. So I have a way of working on these to try to restore some of that. We're not going to be able to recreate bakelite. That's just not going to happen. But we can do some things to make it better than just a case with missing huge chunks. This one was in really bad condition when I got it. And I should say that after all of our efforts, it's never going to be perfect. Close inspection, somebody would probably be able to determine that it was a repair and wasn't originally all bakelite. But like I said, you put it on the shelf. This is towards the back, and it really isn't noticeable. So I think it's the best that we can do under the circumstances, since they don't make these anymore. So I'm going to talk about what I do to try to repair the cases. And the first thing I got to say is this. It starts with having a case which is not broken. Okay, so like this one right here, it's not broken. Now it's possible to do this even if you only have one, you're working on one and you don't have an unbroken one to use. It's just going to be more work for you. But what I have done is taken a case that is not broken, okay, and I bought this mold putty off of Amazon, and I don't think it really matters the brand, okay, but this is the Alumilite Amazing Mold Putty, and you get it has two different parts to it. You mix it together and then you have a working time before it will turn into like a rubber, okay, so you can move it around and shape it. So what I did was I got this stuff off Amazon, took my case, which was undamaged, and then what I did was I took the Amazing putty and put it on the case just like that. Okay, so bring it up to the edge, and then afterwards I did one inside. So I have these, the inside and the outside, and this takes about a day to get both of these. Okay, and then once you have the mold, the idea is you're going to take your broken one. Say this one is missing this piece right here, and I just use white glue, like Elmer's glue. Okay, and what I've done is just smeared that across the top, and then put the mold on top of that. Okay, and then same thing on the inside, just put white glue all inside, put the mold inside like this, and then I usually wait about a day. The white glue will not hurt the bakelite, and it can be rubbed off with warm water afterwards. So what we're just trying to do is get this mold to stay in place long enough so that we can put some epoxy resin in there. So once I have it like this, there's another product, and again, I don't think it matters the brand. I got this off Amazon, but it's epoxy resin. It comes in two parts. It's got a resin and a hardener, and this is a 1-to-1 mix ratio, which makes it really easy. And what I do is take a Dixie cup, and because I'm talking such small amounts, I use these caps from paint bottles, and you see one says A, one says B, and I'm just going to fill up one of these from the resin, put it in there, and then one from the hardener, put it in there. I've got equal parts. Stir that with a popsicle stick, okay, and follow the directions on that. One thing I'm going to say about this epoxy resin, you're supposed to wear gloves when you're handling it. It's not supposed to get on your skin, and God forbid if it gets in your eyes or something like that. That's for real. I mean, this stuff is bad. We don't want to get it in our eyes for sure. Now, getting on our skin, we want to avoid that as much as we can, but I don't know of any other way to do what I'm about to tell you to do without actually touching it. Okay, so I do wind up touching it briefly in the process. But after I put in the resin and the hardener in here, what I've found that works real well is acrylic paint. And if you go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's, you can find acrylic burnt sienna. This is a great place to start. Okay, and so I start with that, and I look at my case that I'm working on, because there are some variations. Some have more red in them, some are more brown. So I have 4 colors that I keep on hand. I keep the red, usually just going to use a little bit of that. I got black, it helps to darken it. And I also just have this burnt umber, okay? And between these 4, I just squirt out a little bit onto my mixing stick and then go back in there and mix it around. And I just judge looking at it, how close is it to the case I'm working on. If it looks like it needs to be a little darker, I might add some, burnt umber or black. If it looks like it needs to be a little redder, I might add a little red. But I'm going to mix that up, and the acrylic paint works in the resin epoxy just fine to color it. I've also used oil paint. Oil paint is just a little bit harder to get it to mix, but it works also. So what I do is once I've got this mixed up in here to the color that I like, I'm going to take my busted case, which has the molds glued to it, and I'm just going to trickle that epoxy resin down into this crack and leave it there overnight. Now, the next day, when I take this off, I'm going to have a rough cut of my finished product. I'm actually going to have to keep working and do the procedure again, mix up more resin epoxy and keep adding it to get the product I want in the end. But that will give me the structure to build on. So once I've got that, I'm going to mix it up again. And this one is the worst case that I've ever worked on. I'm actually not done with it quite yet, but I'll just show you with this. Actually, let's use this right here. Everything to the back of where this is going right now is all resin epoxy. The case was so busted up, it was missing the whole top back part here. So this is after about 3 times doing this. The first one being the foundation, where I use the mold. The second, I come back, I mix up more resin epoxy, and the second time I'm going to come in, I'm going to put the resin epoxy on there. But then this is the trick, is I take my finger and I pull it forward, okay, and wipe off any excess, and I just keep doing that, and I do that on each layer, on each surface. And why it's important is because you can't sand Bakelite without ruining it, okay? But if you have a thin layer of resin epoxy on there, you can go back and lightly sand it. And so I'm shaping the resin epoxy so it's the shape it's supposed to be to fit the case. If you look right here, you notice that this area I haven't finished yet, okay? So I'm still working on this, and what I'm going to do, next, I'm probably going to sand this down, and then I'm going to create a situation like this, and then I'm going to pour the resin epoxy right in there and let it harden, okay? And I might need to come back and do the other direction too. But by being able to sand it down and then reapply it that way, it works. And in the end, you wind up with a surface that, and like I said, unless somebody's really looking, they can't tell the difference. The more you work with it, the better you can get it. You're looking at this right here, and you can still see it's something that I've got to work on there was a big crack right here in the bakelite. So I'm working that out. But by the time I'm done, that'll be gone. Won't be able to see it. So that's how I approach it. And when I say that you have to have one that isn't broken, or there's something else you do, well, the only other thing that you can do really is to kind of, if this is broken off here, is just glue onto here some, say, plastic strips or cardboard strips and create the mold there. And that'll just going to require you to do more sanding to get it to look the way it's supposed to, than if you have a mold from one that's intact that you can use. So good luck with that. I'm telling you, it is possible. It's more art than science, and I've done a number of them, and I used to say that you can get them to look really good. Never going to get them perfect. It's just the way it is, and that's one way to do it. It's the way I do it. I'm sure there are other guys out there who have different methods. All right, I'll see you next time we talk about the lens.